3 minutes to the gentlewoman from Texas, Ms. Jackson Lee.
The gentlewoman from Texas is recognized for 3 minutes.
I thank the gentleman. Having had some tenure on this floor, my recollection is that in many instances, the NDAA has been a welcoming bipartisan initiative. We have worked together. We have formulated ways to improve the lives of the men and women of the United States military. Let me just make it very clear. That's what the NDAA is supposed to be. Strengthening our ability to be a fighting force, but who do you have as a fighting force? The men and women of the United States military. I take great insult and offense to suggest that there are not young people in America who are willing to lay down their lives as our fathers and mothers and grandparents did. They do want to join the United States military. It is the ability of the military to govern itself within the civilian framework that we should be promoting in the NDAA. And so it is a terrible shame that members of color on this floor will be forced to vote on something that takes us back to the dark ages about not talking about how richly diverse we are. All of these race amendments that have been allowed to come to the floor are literally a disgrace. Did we talk about diminishing returns when the Tuskegee Airmen took to the skies in the 1940s and World War II and were one of the successful bombing units ever? Black, my father-in-law, Philip Ferguson Lee. Or did we find a diminishing in the military when Truman integrated legally to allow African Americans to join the United States military or to rise and not be discriminated against, and others followed? It was a magnificent move and a fearful move. Many thought Truman would lose his election. How dare we come to the floor on this? This is about our men and women. Why would my amendment be left out that talks about black maternal mortality? There are black women soldiers, officers who would benefit from that. Or $10 million that I introduced dealing with triple-negative breast cancer that has been accepted and in year after year because it is to save lives. $2.5 million in post-traumatic stress disorder. It is to save our soldiers' lives and to be able to admit that there is PTSD continuing and we need to be able to help. Or to address injuries that came after someone comes out of the military, to connect them to the military benefits, which we see in many of those. Yes, I have an amendment in this that deals with providing emergency housing for those of us who live in the Gulf region or live in the West where these natural disasters are coming, or in the East Coast in Connecticut, that when people are totally displaced, we are very grateful of the fact that the bases would be open to providing disaster care for them.
The gentlewoman's time has expired.
I yield additional 30 seconds to the gentleman.
The woman is recognized for another 30 seconds.
I thank you. This amendment that is in adds a report to be submitted within 220 days following enactment on capacity to provide disaster survivors with emergency short-term housing. This bill should be a bill that builds the mighty fighting force. It should not deny women the right under their medical care, and Secretary Austin and the Pentagon to say quietly, you can have a medical decision. If it cannot be made in the state that you are forced to be assigned to, posted, you can go to another state. It is a disgrace that they would interfere in private reproductive rights. This is undermining what we're here for, to build up a fighting force of men and women, and that's what this bill should be. We will stand to the death to make sure this bill supports the men and women and the fighting force of America. I yield back.